Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. We are currently taking the role of the boatman and going through the life of the skittish engineer, a man who is part of a revolutionary cell who blew themselves up, and we're interrogating them. I ran out of actions in the last episode, and I also forgot to zoom it in, like I keep forgetting, but we are going to carry on here. I think the only thing we haven't done is service excavation equipment. The drill is malfunctioning and the shovels are impractical. The foundations are almost laid, but the drill keeps cutting out on one particular location. The machinery appears sound, so you examine the earthworks with a sturdy site engineer. You observe something in the shaft wall. A huge, glistening blockage, as wide as a street. It resembles a pipe, but has an organic quality. Your companion shakes his head. I've seen one of these before. We'll have to relocate the shaft. You ask what the foreign body is. Comes from there, doesn't it? He says. You follow his nod. Above the tenements loom the black spires of the bazaar. Ooh, that's talking about the tendrils that are winding through the streets underneath London, I think. Okay, so make your first bomb. You understand the chemistry, but having your face inches from the explosive is a new experience. They leave you alone in the room, just in case. The woman pats your elbow as she leaves. I don't know you won't mess it up, she says, but if you do, we'll miss you. It seems wise to clean your spectacles first, then you settle down with the cylinders and the saucer with the silver fulminate. If it can detonate under the impact of a drop of water, you've read. Your hands are steady as you load the first blasting cap, a few needles at a time. 5-second fuse and crimp, delicately now. Try not to sweat. Ooh, press him on his controller. Ah, here we go. The engineer has returned to the present for a moment. This could be an opportunity to extract information. He never questioned her orders. What did she have him do? The engineer shakes his head. I don't know why I thought somebody in this business would be methodical or rational. When she settles on a target, she pursues them to the exclusive of all else. Tries to get completely inside their head. There was one poet she saw at a salon, with some connection to society. She liked his work. He ended up in the Royal Beth, screaming in rhyme. Her focus makes us all uncomfortable, but of course you can't say anything. Who is this woman? Who are these targets that she obsesses over? But the engineer has stopped listening to you. He gazes ahead, realizing your journey together is almost over. So not only is the controller a woman, the controller becomes obsessed by particular targets. The tour of his memories is over. You approach the far country, the destination of the dead. The engineer huddles down in the hull. Please, let's turn around. Already, you can hear the screams. So we can either take him back, where he's in bits, or we can take him to the far shore. He is terrified, but it is the boatman's duty to deliver him there. I'm afraid you blew yourself up, mate. I'm just doing my job. So we're going to take him to the far shore. At last, you draw within sight of the far country. The water's edge roils and shifts with uneasy shadow. The skittish engineer surveys it and gives a single audible gulp. With the swing of the boatman's oar, you knock him into the water. He goes under and comes up gasping for the air of the dead. For a moment, it looks like he might grab for the side of the boat. Then the light in his eyes fades, and he lets himself drift toward the bank. You turn the boat, and with a dip of the oar, begin the long journey back. Silence draws in around the boat. You have time to think. As you travel to accept another of the dead, the isolation is peaceful after the noisy streets of London. They seem distant, alien. We're guiding the boat back up to the riverbank, ready for our next passenger. So the next one is the Hypnagogic Explorer. Wasn't the man who hired us something to do with the hypnagogic, I'm going to struggle with that word every time. The second revolutionary wades into the river to meet you. You're here. Excellent. Do you mind if we take one of the other rivers? She climbs into the boat and shakes water from her skirt. Her busy manner suggests you've already met, although you are quite sure you haven't. When you don't immediately begin to row, she blinks at you. I know it's irregular, but I'd dearly love to visit the Waswood, the realm of things lost. I'd be grateful for the opportunity to experience it. I can offer whatever you want in return. It seems this alternative river is the path of least resistance. We're going to the Waswood. The hypnagogic explorer navigates, peering ahead into the gloom. She referred to alternative rivers? The explorer seems energized by the gloomy surroundings. Other rivers, yes, 5 of them, I believe. I've glimpsed them in dreams. This one runs through a wood, the place of things gone forever. Before I go, I wanted a glimpse of what my life could have been, and the little things that travelled with me for a time. She squints into the blackness ahead. It's to the right, I think, if you don't mind. You turn the boat to starboard. Leafless burrs stir overhead. A tributary leaves off the main river into a sunken glen. As the banks draw together, trees with pale trunks line your route, leafless branches knotting above your head. This is the Waswood. Where the water splits, your route has consequences. We have 2 branches. We can either go for a lost romance. There was somebody back in London, the explorer says. I was ready to tell him how I felt. Or we can go for the right branch, an elusive dream. I was onto something about consciousness. She looks back at the wake of the boat. This costs 9 whispered hints, 5 cryptic clues. I mean, there's a 60% chance of success. I kind of want to go for a lost romance. Failure will impact your quirks. Let's just do the guaranteed one. Yeah, let's do that. An elusive dream. It was a slow process of assembling snippets, a conversation between honey dreamers and the singing mandrake, murmurs from a dozing Zayla down in Wolfstack. A curate was in on it, and packages were exchanging hands, scented oils, imported blankets, pillow slips of parabola linen. I just had to be in the right place at the right time, and I would have cracked it. I can feel the details slipping away right now, just like a dream. She blinks. Have you ever had a lucid dream? Asks the hypnagogic explorer. They're terribly compelling. The banks are dry. All vitality departed. The river laps across them and withdraws. It leaves no trace of moisture. The explorer studies the canopy. Are you seeing this? She says. I ask because it seems so familiar, like a recurring dream. So here we go again. We have a choice. We can either go left or we can go right. Left is a glimpse of nevers. The explorer strains to see the debris of other lives. That's just luck. Or we can do the right branch, a career truncated. In her life, she didn't get to explore as far as she wanted. That just cost me romantic notions. I feel this time I want to have a chance at luck. Damn. You begin to notice objects in the trees. A wedding dress torn and thrown over a chair. A bat swimming in formaldehyde. The first novel by a member of the Fisher Kings. Dirty dolls and wind-up soldiers, wedding rings and favourite cravats. When you look back, they are gone, crumbled to powder. You are back at the fork in the river. Your head throbs just a little. The explorer frowns. Okay, let's try the career then. My father was a great traveller on the surface. He went up the Gambia, He crossed the Pacific, and he claimed to have been to some very exotic places I now realize were entirely fictional, but he gave me a wanderlust that could never go. Even as a girl, I decided I would join an expedition down the Nile, and then London fell. One corner of her mouth twists. Of course, the Neath has unexplored corners, but Zier never really agreed with me. Sand trails from between the trees. A stone ram watches you pass. There was a note that said everything is white. You guide the boat around bleached rock and weed patches. Beneath the surface you see animal skulls, dogs, cats, and... is that an ocelot? Once, in Vale Garden, I lost a very good pair of shoes, the explorer says. I wonder if they are here somewhere. So, left or right? We can, letters unsent. The hypnagogic explorer strokes her chin. There were things I always meant to tell people. Not to their face, of course. So we can use our stolen correspondence. Or we can do pleasures denied. If I'd known the end was imminent, she says, I would have said yes more often. 70% chance. We succeeded. As the boat drifts through, your lantern light catches shapes in the trees. Someone is cooking a dish you used to love. You can almost taste it on the air. From the other side, different scents wafts. Rich incense from far-off ports. Heady spices, the last cough of a sought-after candle. You concentrate on the oar. Dip, pull, withdraw. None of this is attainable. This is the Waswood, and these things are gone forever. Leafless burrs stir overhead. Ooh, we're back here again. You paddle up to a new branch of the river, or is this an old branch? The contours seem familiar. Yes, we've been here before. Well, let's try a lost romance. 60% chance. We failed. Damn. She squeezes her eyes closed in frustration. I've imagined the scene so many times. There's bars or railings, pinpricks of light, music, some piece by... The hypnagogic explorer opens her eyes and gives you a hollow look. I can't even picture his face. That's how this place works. You remember for a moment, then the memory is taken away. Our relationship is in here somewhere, but it's gone. Forever. The perfect phrase pops into your mind. It describes... what was it again? Well, let's do the left branch letters unsent. As you row, you notice a letter on the ground. Then another, until the bank is choked with correspondence. You see apologies in tight, wavy hand, invitations with ornaments and flourishes, letters of praise and thanks and love and accusation. The explorer stares at one in particular, and when she turns away, her eyes are damp. A letter from my mother, she says. She died in childbirth. Oh, that's horrible. There is something perfect about this place, its silence, and a certain timeless majesty. If you believe the honey dream philosophers, the explorer says, we are not actually in the wood. We are not actually on this river. Our path extends before us like weed along the riverbed. Trying to remember which one of these I did. I think it was, let's do a career truncated. Oh, we've done that one. That was the traveller. Whoops. Oh well, either way, we have got to a point where we can ask her about the controller. Ahead is the heart of the Waswood. Petrified trunks and crushed bones, yet you are also on its fringes. The explorer looks around satisfied. I think I understand at last. We have always been here. We have always been nowhere. So, you have taken her on an adventure. It is time she paid her fare. The hypnagogic explorer sours. I suppose you're right, and the location is appropriate. I'll tell you something about our controller. She is inordinately interested in your dreams, in everybody's dreams. You cannot have an extended conversation without her trying to extract some snippet from your previous night's repose. Sometimes she's subtle, and sometimes she asks straight out. If you do meet her, I advise you to keep that information to yourself. I used to confide in her. Didn't see any reason not to. The explorer shivers. What you tell her has a way of coming back. We should never tell the controller about our dreams. It is becoming hard to concentrate on the ore. Your time in the Waswood is drawing to a close. The explorer gazes at you, quite at ease. What about you? Will you take some insight from the Waswood, or will you leave something else here? We can dredge up the sand. There are items there, half buried. You could reach them without leaving the boat, or we can leave our nightmares behind. The hypnagogic explorer smiles at you. You can relinquish them here. It's fitting. I don't think I have many nightmares. I don't think I've got any nightmares, so let's dredge up the sand. The explorer watches in amusement as you trail your hand along the water's edge. Can't take it with you, eh? Well, I commend you for trying. These little knickknacks aren't entirely gone yet. Not quite in the wood. Perhaps one person still remembers, somewhere in the back of a faltering mind. You try to keep the boat moving as you scoop. There will be plenty of time for philosophy later, so we gained 6 flasks of abominable salts, 1 unearthly fossil, and 1 secluded address. Followed by, you should not have done that. Crap. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. The trees begin to thin out. Once again, you are on the fringes of the Waswood. The explorer draws close. I can share a little more. The controller. What was she like to work for? Is it your imagination, or did the explorer's jaw just tremble? I dread what lies ahead now, but I still choose it over her wrath. Day to day, she can be pleasant. She can be irritable. But once enraged, she is savage, pitiless. We talked often into the small hours. My theories about nightmares fascinated her. Any other woman I might have considered a friend, but her? She studies her palms, where they lie in her lap. The explosion wasn't an accident. When we knew he had failed, we detonated all our bombs. The explorer looks up. We chose permanent death over capture. The controller exacts terrifying revenge when displeased. The Waswood lies behind you. You were never truly there. If you had been there, you would no longer be here. The hypnagogic explorer sits back. Please, listen to me. I know what awaits on the far shore. I don't want to go there. I would rather be gone, now and forever. Do you understand what I'm asking of you? I'm going to carry on doing my job. Sorry, this has been pleasant diversion, but it changes nothing. You paddle back out into the main river, leaving the wood behind. The smile fades. Not far now. Already, you hear the wailing. In time, the hypnagogic explorer speaks, her mouth dry. I've had more nightmares than most. Perhaps it won't be so bad. It might be over quickly. It might be something I get used to. She bows her head and closes her eyes. I'm afraid you'll have to tip me out of the boat. You can't expect me to go of my own accord. A light touch from the oar is enough. She goes over the side. The cries fade as you paddle away. The emptiness of the river envelops you, bleak waters parting beneath your oar. You glide on. Conscious of the vacant seat opposite, the shore of the living seems far away. Now, we have the last one. Another journey, another passenger to collect. It's soothing, in a way, but this time it's the renegade banker. The third and final revolutionary stands on the bank as if he owns it. He runs a cool gaze across you as you maneuver the boat up on the shore. Unlike the others, he shows no inclination to get in. You wait, your eyes shadowed by the brim of the boatman's hat. While the river laps at the bank, you note a good suit, scuffed, and a bowler of superior manufacture which appears to have been dented and reshaped. Eventually, he steps over the wooden side. "You're not the real boatman," he says. "It's just you, the river, and the final revolutionary." He regards you with amusement. "We can either register his details." "It's a new procedure. There's no actual form to fill in. You just keep it all in your skeletal head. We can befriend him. This is the final journey of his life. He might appreciate a little fellowship. Or we can talk philosophy. This is death, after all. We're better to reflect on the mysteries of existence." Let's see, seems like the kind of man who might like to register his details, so let's go with that. A few key questions. Perhaps he will let slip something important. Name: Mr. Iron. First name: Enyold. "Isn't Mr. Iron one of the masters? Somehow I don't think that's you, Mr. Enyold." Occupation: limitless struggle against a corrupt regime. Address: "You can call me sir." That's quite a smart response. Next of kin: "I don't know her name, but she has glorious silver curls and works at the Parlour of Virtue." This is the problem with anarchists. No respect for administrative niceties. The renegade banker settles in his boat like he owns it. Well, I'm guessing befriending him's not going to work either, but we'll try it. You have nothing by the way of food or drink, but you offer a few kind words and advise the banker not to dwell on what lies ahead. Instead, you invoke his lifetime of labour and the tiresome struggles that are now behind him. Why, in your hands, death sounds like a gentle arrival on a comfortable bed with fresh linen. The banker adjusts the crease in his trousers, straightens his collar, and removes his hat to brush it with a sleeve. Chores done, he replaces the hat and regards you with a undisgusted boredom. "Where did you get that hat?" he asks. "Second hand, I can tell." "It's just you, the river, and the final revolutionary." He yawns. "The last fellow wasn't this chatty." Drop the pleasantries. He sits back, arms folded, and stares you down. If we had revolutionary things we could do it, but I don't, because I'm not very friendly with the old revolutionaries. But let's drop the pleasantries. "You know what I do. You think this is the first time I've travelled on this river? I don't know who you are, or who you represent, but I do know you want something from me. You won't get it, by hook or by crook. Save your dead breath." You stare back. The oar dips into the water. Pulls, rises. He doesn't blink. Not getting through to him. He no longer seems quite so amused. "Well, we can either challenge his profession, he was a banker. What are they but pawns of the establishment? Consider his victims. When you use bombs to make your point, some subtlety is lost. Or we can point out his revolution is over. This is a one-way trip. Why hold on to the values of things, of the living?" I vote consider his victims. The banker meets your gaze. Your point has touched a nerve. We spent long nights arguing about that, but you must realize that the press is in the pocket of the masters. Were there really civilian casualties from our action at the barracks? Was the bizarre back street truly full of casual passers-by? Perhaps you should read the reports with a more critical eye. He gestures back the way you have come. Death is most often temporary in the Neath. The fact I'm here with you now shows I was willing to die for the cause. He sounds like he's trying to convince himself. Let's challenge his profession. He was a banker. What are they but pawns of the establishment? How could a committed revolutionary work in a financial institution? Behind those gleaming desks and polished counters resides a system dedicated to keeping the poor in their place. Anger sparks on his face for a moment. You only show your ignorance, he snaps. Change requires patience. For years I worked inside the system, passing confidential financial information to other cells. What if I served the bank too? They never found me out. He becomes sullen, staring into the stern. At last he seems unsettled. Let's probe deeper. Despite his brave talk, he is showing signs of vulnerability. He mops his brow. Perhaps you're right. I gave my life in devotion to a cause, and this is the reward I get. Alone with you on this river. Perhaps it would do me good to unburden myself, to let it all out before the end comes. I do know secrets, secrets which weigh heavily on me. Would you be willing to listen? As you form your reply, he gives an abrupt snort. Then he laughs out loud, holding his stomach. Sorry, he splutters. I did try to keep a straight face. Okay, I guess that didn't work then. We can either let the silence work. He's enjoying the drama of jousting with you, but this particular stage set should be work in your favour. We can ask about his family. He didn't exactly get a chance to say goodbye. Let's go with that one. Damn it, we failed. Okay. Oh yeah, 80%. There we go, we succeeded. You don't have his family tree to work with, or any idea if he had a sweetheart, but there might be a brother, a sister, parents. You inquire after their health. When did he last see them? The question seems solicitous, but he knows they are not. He stares back with suppressed fury. You let the moment hang, working the oar. You give him time to think. When you look again, he is blinking back tears. So we'll let the silence work. He's enjoying the drama of jousting with you, but this particular stage set should work in your favour. You lean back and begin to ignore your passenger. The oar dips into the black sheen of the water. Your pull is shallow, unhurried. Cool air touches your cheeks as the boat glides on. The banker frowns and watches you paddle. He shifts on the bench. Restless now, he is no longer centre stage. From ahead of the boat, still far off, you begin to hear voices, lamenting, wailing. You look at the banker. Is that perspiration beneath his hat rim? Dimp, pull. The wails from the far shore are louder now. The banker grits his teeth. So now it's time to break through his defences. With persistence, every castle can be breached. He glances over your shoulder. You can hear the intensity in his voice. It's her you want to hear about, right? Alright, I'll tell you something about her. She has a hobby, I suppose you'd call it. She builds halls of mirrors, curates them. Different sizes, tints, angles, distorted glass that shows you things about yourself you didn't want to know. She always asks us to test them. After the first time, nobody wants to. He points a finger at your face. She'll get you in there one day. Her next little bit of research. I suppose you want me to beg you to take me back, he says. That's not going to happen. Do what you want. So we can either knock him into the water, the far shore awaits him, like it waits everybody else, or we can spare him. This is his appointed destination, but if you leave him here, you can extract no further information. Let's knock him into the water. See ya. He sees it coming. He doesn't flinch. You swing the oar and catch him under the ribs. He goes over the side. Without a struggle, his bowler hat splashing into the dark water. As he drifts away, staring back at you with hollow eyes, he speaks. You wanted information about my controller. I have one last thing I could tell you, but I won't. Unless you share my fate for a time, walk the shore with me, if you have the courage, and I will tell you this secret. Behind him, shadows shift on the bank. A grey, sickening undulation. Pillars rise in rows, surfaces pitted with the wear of ages. A dark, thin-legged shape perches atop one, then skitters away. The banker drifts in the shallows wearing a thin smile. He claims to have one final piece of information for you. It's an obvious attempt to lure you from the safety of the boat, but the information may be real. So we can either remain in the boat, the banker is still grappling with you, don't play his game, or we can walk the far shore. The mantle of the boatman will protect you. A little, but the things you see here cannot be unseen. But either way, I think I'm going to have to end the episode here. What a horrible place to end the episode, I do apologise. We will find out the choice that I make in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, your comments are greatly appreciated, and let me know what you're doing, what you did. I love to hear it off people, and as always, I'll see you next time.